Well, hey there, welcome. I'm professional coach Kieran Diorio. I help high performing professionals accelerate their family happiness without sacrificing their business success. Welcome to Point A. Welcome to Wednesday Live at 12:05. Today I'm kicking off part one of our filters series. I'm going to define filters for us. I'll talk about the importance of our awareness of our filters. And we're trying to get this done all in 5 minutes. Feedback, spin, I've got to go a little quicker. So that's what I'm going to do. As always, though, your questions, your comments, your thoughts, anything that comes up is what I'm really after. So feel free to put them in the chat or send them to me directly. If anything really apropos comes up, I'll go there because they usually lead us in good directions. And hey, before I begin, I do want to cite Dr. Bruce Schneider, the founder of Core Energy Coaching, as inspiration and then big source of information for me here when it comes to filters. I have a little bit of a different take than Bruce, but I've learned a lot from his teaching, so just wanted to put that out there. So let's begin. Let's talk about definition of filters. My outbound email this week talked about someone who has no filter. How often do we hear that this guy just has no filter? And that's really a filter on behavior. Usually in that case, it's someone who communicates, speaks, writes, whatever, in a very unvarnished, maybe crass, maybe offensive way, or maybe in a way that's just not really in tune with social norms or other people. But what I really want to talk about today is something different. I want to talk about our filters. What's in place as we perceive events, as we experience life, what's influencing our experiences in our careers, in our families, and more. In other words, I want to talk about the influences on how we experience our world in all its dimensions. So for the purpose of today's discussion, let's connect the word filters with the word influences or influencers, or influence in general, and they are a little bit different, but for the purpose of this, let's just put that all in one little ball of wax and take it from there. So that's filters defined. Think filters, influences, for purposes today, one and the same. And I'm actually getting a question here, so I'm just going to go with it because it is perfect. Someone's saying, please, concrete examples. So let's get right into it. One of the most common filters or common influences on how we show up is physical influences on how we show up. This is going to impact so much of our lives, for example. And a great example would be a real life situation. Let's say we have someone who travels a good bit for work. Maybe you're a salesperson and you drive several hours, or you've waited in an airport waiting area, get on a plane for a few hours, jump in an Uber, go to a meeting, sit there for a couple hours, then sit at the bar and have drinks, and then sit into a dinner, for example. And what happens when we live like that for a long time, for many people, we get into a place where we're experiencing frequent or chronic low back pain. And that is going to have an impact. It's going to have an influence. It's going to filter how we show up. It's screening possibilities for us, for example. It's really impacting our potential in many aspects of life because we have this filter or influence of this chronic low back pain, for example. And the importance of this in its totality is really important because the fact that we have chronic low back pain is actually much more than low back pain. Because, again, it's screening your potential, because it's permeating so much of your life, it's actually much, much more. It's a key influencer on how we're experiencing so much of what we engage in, whether it's our careers or our families, as I said earlier. So, for example, the low back pain is just not a low back pain. I take 2 tablets of ibuprofen and carry on. It's more like, wow, I was only running at about 80% in that key presentation because my back was killing me, right? Or maybe it's, wow, I was really curt with my spouse because at the time we were trying to have a conversation, my back was so tight, I just couldn't think about anything else but that. Right? Or maybe, hey, I came home and I can't pick up my kid because I've been driving for 3 hours. And I saw some disappointment there in her face, and then I felt some guilt, and that impacted dinner that night and how I slept afterwards and all those things. Or, hey, I'd love to golf with my dad this weekend, but I know I'm traveling all week, and by the time I get back, I won't be able to do anything Saturday. I'm going to have to rest and let my back settle down. So this filter or this influence, this influencer of low back pain, huge impact on so many aspects of the person in this example's life. Okay. And having an awareness of it as something much, much bigger than low back pain is the first step to taking the wheel, getting some control, identifying whether or not this serves me. And then frankly, is it time to do something? So I hope that helps. And I'll do one more example because I do think this stuff is best explained by example. Let's talk about an emotional filter. And I'm going to go into my story a little bit on this one, just because it's really telling to me and maybe for me. But like motivational speaker Matt Foley, I am divorced. I don't live in a van down by the river, but I am divorced. And for a good while after that process started, it was very much a period or time of firsts for me. The first holiday since splitting up, for example, or the first vacation that I planned and set up and had in this new family setting, right? And these things are emotionally significant. They were very emotionally significant for me, so they are to be honored. But oddly enough, I turned that filter or that influence, that emotional occurrence of firsts into something that I was frankly applying to everything. And I remember catching myself and really becoming aware of this filter. I was going whitewater rafting, and I remember thinking, this is the first time I've whitewater rafted since I got divorced. And I started feeling some of the sadness, some of the emotions that come up from that influencer or filter. And then I realized, dude, you know what? That has, divorce has no impact on whitewater rafting. Never did, never will. What are you doing? And in that way, it brought some awareness. It brought some control of that emotional presentation that was coming up. And frankly, I was able to see that for what it was, clear that emotion, and then frankly, promptly re-engage in something I really wanted to do and didn't want to feel sad about. So again, another example of a filter coming up or an influencer coming up that could have a big impact on something that was really important to me. So just wanted to share that one as well. And hey, again, I promised to be quick today, so I'm going to wrap it up just there. I have a couple other questions here. I'll get back to you folks directly if you send me your email information in the chat. We'll take it from there. And next week, I'll be going deeper into filters, specifically with that super common one. We're going to start with physical filters or physical influences on how we show up, how we experience our lives. And I'll talk about some approaches and philosophies to address physical influencers. So again, I'll wrap it up there. I'm Coach Kieran DiOrio, helping high-performing professionals accelerate their family happiness without sacrificing their business success. I'm available for one-on-one coaching as well as presentations. So call me at 724-331-9263 or visit me, pointacoachingandconsulting.com. We'll see you next time.